season 5, season 5. Ready, guys? Let's blow it out together. Everyone at the book buzz. Happy New Year! It's
Happy New Year, everyone.
Season 5. If you haven't gotten that, everyone, yet, thank you for joining us. We've been saving this candle for 5 seasons just to use it today. Happy New Year! I'm Jen.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Miriam. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, folks.
We're so glad that you joined us. We're so happy to be back. We have a penguin guest. What else is going to happen
what else
this year?
Do you need?
I mean, coffee. You need coffee. And I sadly broke my mug, guys. So I have a different publishing mug today. And then I had to choose, do I do which one, the banned books mug or an audio mug? So I have water in one and coffee in the other.
Balance.
So I hope everyone has their coffee at home. And here we go. We were excited to pick some early 2024 reading picks to kick off the new season. And so, Kate, what did you pick as your first read of the year?
The book I'm most excited for, I'm cheating a little bit. This is something I've already read, but I just loved it. It's a secret between me and everybody here. I'm just so excited for it to actually come out. It is Come and Get It by Kylie Reed. Kylie Reed's first book, Such a Fun Age, was so good, and this was such a great follow-up second book of hers. I'm really loving it, really excited for it to officially hit shelves.
Ooh, and what did you pick, Miriam?
I picked Catalina, from the author of the National Book Award finalist, The Undocumented Americans. This is a really beautiful, intimate coming-of-age story, and I love the characters. They're really vividly realized.
And I picked Super Communicators because I want to communicate with everyone even better than we do in our book buzz. But in all honesty, I've been a longtime fan of Charles Duhigg. The Power of Habit really had an impression on me years ago. It stuck with me. And he has such an accessible writing style that to me is very enjoyable, like a real talent for explaining science behind why we behave the way we do. And so I think there's no better author, and he's also narrating the audio as well, to communicate to readers and listeners the science of communication itself. So it really gives you strategies and tools and ways to have more meaningful connection and show that it's possible for everyone. So to me, that was how I wanted to kick off my year. And we're happy to communicate with all of you, and feel free to drop in the chat what you are most excited to read in 2024. And if you're not sure yet, we might have some ideas that you can answer the question later, because we have over 25 titles to present to you. So buckle up, everyone, because we have a great first kickoff of the season, and we're going to theme it around reading resolutions. So we hope if you want to share with us what your reading resolutions are, you can also drop those in the chat, because we would love to hear them. And I think everyone hopefully knows this already, but you will see a key on all the slides so you can tell what formats all the titles are available in, whether hardcover, trade paperback, large print, ebook. E-Galley is when you can request it digitally, so look for the orange E, and then of course audio download, or CD, which is compact disc. And many of you might already have joined us. Hopefully, we're so grateful to everyone who signed up last month. I feel like December feels so long ago already, but it really wasn't that long ago, and it's still available. Our Winter Book and Author Festival content is online. You can still browse our digital shelves, our main booth that has all of our many collections and guides and great titles. And we also had an audio booth, and there are recordings of all of the panels, amazing keynotes, and so much more. So we will send the link around at the end. But if you haven't had some time to enjoy the book and author festival, we hope that you will check it out.
And we hope that you'll join us this Thursday, January 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a 75-minute bookless webinar to hear about some new, inspiring, and essential health and wellness titles for your library's collections. There'll be presentations from North Atlantic Books, Barrett Kohler, Shambhala, Hay House, Parallax Press, And Bookless esteemed adult books editor Donna Seaman will be moderating the special program. Be sure to also check out our new Spring 2024 catalogs featuring must-have titles in science fiction and fantasy, nonfiction, and audio for readers and listeners.
And we have a new book club brochure. And I always feel every time we have one of these, morning book buzzes, that we're part of like the greatest book club there is. So who better to kick off our new book club brochure than by introducing it to all of you. We're so thrilled. There's great new titles, many of which you might have read already or have been meaning to read, that you can introduce to your book clubs with really provocative and thoughtful questions that will kickstart a great discussion at your library or with the book clubs that you join in your lives.
All right, and we also have our 24 books to read in 2024 blog up and ready for you all. You can get your reading list ahead of the curve with the 24 books we think everybody should be talking about in 2024. And in addition to that, we are also doing a sweepstakes where you can enter to win a selection of these 24 books. So go to that link on the slide and you can find more information and view all of our picks.
And speaking of winning books, we also, as you may have noticed in our email communications, we are offering a chance to all of you who are attending live. Thank you for doing so. You can also enter to get some great print galleys from what's going to be presented today. So there is a link in the chat. Hopefully you can see it. And anyone who is here right now, feel free to fill it out and enter yourself to win some galleys. Thank you. Rachel put it in the chat. And on to the books. So again, this is the greatest book club ever. So thanks everyone. I mean, can you imagine being in an actual book club with over 200 people live? This is the best. And I thought there's no better way to me to kick it off with something that I think is magical, laugh out loud, funny, and really smart and original, and ask the question, how do we navigate life, love, and choice in a world of never-ending options? I mean, how do we choose which mug, which husband? That's what this question, that's the question this book asks. This is an exuberant debut, and it's about Lauren, who returns home to her flat in London late one night, and she's greeted at the door by her husband, Michael. There's only one problem. She's not married. She's never seen this man before in her life, but according to her friends, her much improved decor, and the photos on her phone, they've been together for years. So as Lauren tries to puzzle out how she could be married to someone she can't remember meeting, Michael goes to the attic to change a light bulb and abruptly disappears. And in his place, a new man emerges, and a new, slightly altered life reforms around her. And realizing that her attic is creating, I don't have an attic like that. Although I don't want to swap this. But realizing that her attic is creating an infinite supply of husbands, Lauren confronts the question of swapping lives is as easy as changing a light bulb. How do you know that you've taken the right path? And when do you stop trying to do better and actually start living? And so it's just such a funny concept. And, in this day and age of like optimizing every decision and how do you find the best thing and the dating apps and we're swiping and we're choosing, it just has so much to discuss, especially at a book club, of what this means for this character's life. And so I think that it's going to be a really funny way, and you have to just sort of buckle up for this magical ride. And it's gotten amazing early reviews. Gabrielle Zevin, the author of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, says it's richly characterized, philosophical, and funny. I enjoyed all the husbands, even especially the terrible ones. A time-bending gem about the way we live now. And I think a laugh out loud, really kind of unique spin on a love story, and a sliding doors style alternate reality tale is just a really fun way to kick off the year for your book club.
I'm really looking forward to that one too. It's going to be so fun and such a great debut. All right, and then
it sounds so different.
It's so different. Next up, in a different vein, I have All We Were Promised, which is another debut, this time by Ashton Lattimore. In All We Were Promised, we follow the paths of 3 young Black women in pre-Civil War Philadelphia who unexpectedly and somewhat dangerously collide in this novel inspired by an explosive history of a divided city. So we follow Charlotte, first and foremost, who is a recently escaped slave from the South, who's kind of beginning to realize that freedom in Philadelphia isn't all she was expecting. She's kept under lock and key by her white passing father, who's attempting to keep them safe from slave catchers. Eventually, Charlotte forms a bond with Nell, a budding abolitionist from one of Philadelphia's wealthiest Black families. But just as Charlotte begins to envision herself in a future, have a bit more hope, a familiar face appears from her past. Evie, her friend from the plantation they were both on, White Oaks, has been brought to the city by the plantation mistress. Lisa Wingate calls this a beguiling story of friendship, deception, and women crossing boundaries in the name of freedom. This is going to be really powerful, really moving, a really great feminist historical fiction read, and it will be read by Shayna Small on the audio.
Oh, I think you're muted, Miriam.
Apologies. And next
It's gotta
we have
happen once. It always has, you know, and now it's a real live webinar.
For real, for real. Next, we have an uplifting story about love, family, and finding your people. The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Burr. Clayton Stumper may be in his 20s, but he dresses like a grandfather and fusses like an aunt. Abandoned at birth on the steps of the Fellowship of Puzzle Makers, he was raised by a group of eccentric enigmatologists and now finds himself among the last survivors of a fading institution. When Pippa Alsbrook, the esteemed crossword compiler and main maternal presence in Clayton's life, passes away, she bestows her final puzzle on him, a promise to reveal the mystery of his parentage and prepare him for a life beyond the walls of the commune. So begins Clay's quest to uncover the streets surrounding his birth, secrets that will change Clay and the Fellowship forever. With the wit and charm of Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club series and the poignancy of Frederick Bachman's work, The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers provides the perfect cozy escape for any reader. Our next book is tailor-made for book clubs, a moving story of class, race, family, and inheritance by the award-winning author of Goodbye, Vitamin. Real Americans begins on the precipice of Y2K in New York City when 22-year-old Lily Chen, an unpaid intern at a slick media company, meets Matthew. Matthew is everything Lily is not. He's easygoing, effortlessly attractive, a native East Coaster, and most notably, heir to a vast pharmaceutical empire. Lily couldn't be more different. Flat broke, raised in Tampa, the only child of scientists who fled Mao's Cultural Revolution. Despite all this, Lily and Matthew fall in love. And in 2021, 15-year-old Nick Chen has never felt like he belonged on the isolated Washington island where he lives with his single mother, Lily. He can't shake the sense that she's hiding something. And when Nick finds out his biological father, the journey threatens to raise more questions than it provides answers. Real Americans is a social novel par excellence, reflective of questions of destiny, identity, and the past.
All right, next up, I have Black Shield Maiden. This is coming to us from Willow Smith. This is exciting for me, daughter of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. She's also going to be reading the audio, which is very exciting. This is a powerful, groundbreaking historical epic about an African warrior in the world of the Vikings in the far north. Yafu is a defiant yet compassionate young warrior who's stolen from her home in the Ghanaian Empire and taken as a slave in the distant north. There, she comes to Sir Freitas, a shy princess who appears to be the exact opposite of Yafu. However, the two girls want the same thing, to be in charge of their own fate. They inspired each other to do more than what is expected of them, for Freitas to break free of her parents' expectations, and for Yafu to become one of the legendary shield maidens of the kingdom. This is going to be a really great book for people who love retellings of mythology, especially like Madeline Miller's Circe or Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer, and it's also going to appeal to fans of like epic, massive TV series, very dramatic, very action-packed, like Vikings or Game of Thrones. I love Willow Smith personally, so I'm very excited to see what she has in store with this.
And next up, we have All Fours by Miranda July. And I've been an admirer of Miranda for a long time. She's such a fascinating, multifaceted artist. She's a writer, she's a filmmaker, she's an artist. She had a debut novel, The First Bad Man, that was an instant New York Times bestseller. She had her collection of short stories, you might remember, called No One Belongs Here More Than You. And she's even been nominated for an Oscar for her film Kajillionaire, which she wrote and directed. So I'm really excited that she has a new piece of work for us called All Fours. And this is such a great, it's got such a great voice. My colleague Liz has been saying for a long time, it's an addictive voice. And I'm so excited for you all to discover what that means to you. It's about a semi-famous artist who announces her plan to drive cross country. I needed a prop, everyone. Course. She plans to drive cross country from LA to New York, but 20 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, beds down in a nondescript motel, and immerses herself in a temporary reinvention that turns out to be the start of an entirely different journey. And I think that's just such a funny concept about someone who's saying they're going to embark on this great adventure across the country, 3,000 miles away, and then 20 minutes later has a very different change of plans. And I think she just has such a funny, unique approach to storytelling. And so it's really about, you know, a female's quest to find a new kind of freedom. So it's partly absurd, and it's very tender, and it's sexual and romantic and domestic, and it explores all these different facets of this 45-year-old female artist. And it really can transcend expectation of what it means to be a woman who's living the life that she's supposed to live. And she turns this idea into something really new. And so I just think it sounds like such a unique way to tell a story about reinvention and finding yourself. And I think it's going to be really great for book clubs, obviously, lots to discuss. And she also reads the audiobook, which is perfect because she's also a performer.
Yeah, Miranda July deserves whatever the literary equivalent of an EGOT is at this point. She's done enough.
She'll get there.
She'll get there eventually. Maybe she'll get a Grammy for this audio. Who knows?
Who knows? Let's. You heard it from Kate first.
I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. I'm manifesting it for her.
Okay, I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
Next up, I have Exhibit by R.O. Kwon, bestselling author of The Incendiaries. So in Exhibit, we start at a lavish party where Jin Han meets Lydia Jung. Jin is a talented young photographer who's kind of at a crossroads generally. She finds herself at a crossroads in her work, her marriage, and just between who she is and who she wants to be. Lydia, on the other hand, is an injured world-class ballerina on hiatus from her ballet company under kind of mysterious circumstances. At this party, Jin finds herself cracked open and revealing to Lydia an old familial curse, breaking a lifelong promise to never share it. She's been told that if she doesn't keep the curse a secret, she risks losing everything. Death and ruin could lie ahead. But as days and weeks go on, Jin and Lydia become more entangled, and they realize they share more than just the ferocity of their ambition and begin to explore hidden desires. R.O. Kwon is an incredible author. Andrew Sean Greer, who is the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Lest I Lost, called Exhibit extraordinary, brisk, jolting, brilliant, beautiful, and true. So this is definitely one you're going to want to keep on your list. Maybe a little bit more intense than some of these other book club books, but definitely just filled with content to discuss and will be a really, really interesting, exciting read.
And next up from Garth Risk-Hallberg, who of course librarians were a huge, wonderful support of City on Fire, which was also an Apple TV show this past year. But you also might recall because it was a 900-page epic novel that got rave reviews. And Booklist called it in a starred review an epic tale that was a compelling mystery and a literary tour de force. And so we're so thrilled that Garth is back with, perfectly titled for his second novel, The Second Coming. And this is also an epic tale, but very different than the first. And it's for readers of Nathan Hill, Jonathan Franzen, Michael Chabon, Thomas Pynchon, Jennifer Egan. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you like these authors, you're going to love rediscovering Garth or reading him for the first time. And it's about 13-year-old Jolie, who drops her phone, such a nightmare, drops her phone onto the subway tracks in 2011. And her estranged dad, Ethan, seems like the furthest thing from her mind. He's a convicted felon and a recovering addict, and he's always struggled to see past himself. But then a call from his ex makes him fear that their daughter's in deeper trouble than anyone realizes. And so he believes he's the only one who can save her. So he decides to return to New York City with a gift, the whole of his life, its hard-won triumphs and harrowing mistakes. So this is an intimate father and daughter journey. They come together, and it also takes us all over the country, from a surf break in mid-90s Delaware to group therapy during the Great Recession, from an encampment at Occupy Wall Street to a hojo on Maryland's Eastern Shore, from the heights of the Brooklyn Bridge. It takes you to all of these unique places that aren't always seen in fiction, and it's a real feat of storytelling. He's so wonderful at just exploring these big mysteries of life, like, can we ever really outrun the past and stay true to ourselves while chasing something new? And it's full of music and pathos and passion, and it's just a beautiful work that renews the extraordinary promise of this writer. And we're so thrilled to have him on this list. And it's also not 900 pages this time. So maybe your book club will finish it more quickly, but it's wonderful, and we cannot wait for you to discover it.
All right, and our next slide topic is, in 2024, I Want to Fall in Love. So we have some romances to present to you all. And first up, we have Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a story of Lane, who's in the middle of an identity crisis. All of her friends are partnered up, her career is heading nowhere, and simply put, she's just unhappy. So after a night out celebrating her birthday, she makes what some would call an impulsive purchase, which is a yellow 48-passenger school bus that she intends to make her home. With little to no renovation experience, but a large sum of inheritance money and the bus, Lane enlists the help of her friend Matt, who is a mechanic by trade, a handyman by practice. Yes, Jen, thank you.
I had to go get it. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, imagine living in that. So Matt is a mechanic by trade, handyman by practice, and quote unquote a hottie by nature. While their mutual attraction is undeniable, Matt and Lane have silently agreed that a friendship is the only thing that can ever exist between them. Matt's a total family guy with the "settle down with me" tattooed on his forehead, where Lane is entirely commitment adverse. It could never work, right? This Hannah Grace called this warm, sexy, and vulnerable. Hannah Bonham Young needs to be on your romance radar. If you're feeling an early year reading slump, if you are, like I am, feeling a little down in the dumps with the cold weather, and getting dark at 4 p.m., this is going to be like the perfect pick-me-up. It's going to be lighthearted, fun, romantic, maybe a little bit steamy. Great. Love Next to You.
And I feel like I need to clear up. We're going to get to the next book, but there's some questions about this. It's not a duck. It's a penguin. I'm very on theme, everyone. It's a penguin wearing a bow tie. And I stole him from a Christmas party, just so he could be at this book buzz today. So you're welcome. So this is the penguin. And speaking of funny stories like that one, the next title I'm going to present is Funny Story by everyone's favorite author who wrote Happy Place, Emily Henry, who we love, who everyone loves. And this is her next book. We're so excited. It's a joyful novel, which we all need, as Kate just pointed out. We all want joy. And this is a funny story. I'll tell you what it's about. Daphne always loved the way Peter told their story, how they met, fell in love, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. Too bad it turned out to be more of a prequel, a complication to Peter's actual love story, the one that ends with him dumping Daphne before their wedding to begin a relationship with his lifelong best friend, Petra. And so that's how Daphne's story really begins. Stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian, a librarian character, everyone, our favorite. And she proposes to be roommates with the only other Peter, ex-boyfriend related person she knows, who is unfortunately Petra's heartbroken ex, Miles. And she's just going to live with him till she can get a new dream job literally anywhere else. And he's scruffy and chaotic, and he's the opposite of Daphne, and they avoid each other until one night, well, and you'll just have to read to find out the rest. But it's a very funny story. It's a romantic story. It's relatable and cathartic, as we have come to expect from Emily Henry. And also, if you're a follower of Julia Whalen on Instagram, she recently revealed what she's working on this week. And funny story, you might guess that it's this. So she's in the studio this week recording the audiobook, and we just cannot wait for Emily to be back in your book clubs and on your shelves and in your headphones. So that's the funny story.
And next we have a smart, delightful read that is perfect for fans of Emily Henry and Rebecca Searle. This is Summer After Summer by Lauren Bailey. And in this contemporary retelling of Persuasion, a woman returns to her family's Hampton Beach house for a final time and a final chance at the love she's lost before. Olivia Taylor's marriage is in a death spiral when she agrees to come home to the Hamptons to help her father and sisters pack up the family estate. If it looks like she's running away from her soon-to-be ex, Wes, and New York City, well, she is. But someone has to take care of things, and that's always been Olivia's role in the family. After years of financial trouble, someone's finally bailing them out with a huge offer to buy their beachfront property, which is a good thing, although it means losing the home she grew up in, where her mother died, and where she first met Fred, the love of her life. It's been 5 years since the last time things blew up between Olivia and Fred, but much longer since the first time. They've already tried and tried again and again, but she's newly single and she isn't the same person as she was the last time, and Fred has changed too. This time, things will be different. Maybe, just maybe, the 5th time's the charm.
I'm really looking forward to that one. I love like a beach set romance. And a bit of a change of pace, I have Cinema Love. So moving from rural post-socialist China to present-day New York City Chinatown, Cinema Love is an immigrant story, a queer love story, and a very tender examination of the legacies of caregiving and assimilation in Chinese America. So we followed two men, Old Second and Bao Mei, over 30 years of their relationship. While in the end, the two have cobbled together a meager life in New York City's Chinatown, their lives started quite differently. In rural Fuzhou in China, they both frequented the Workers' Cinema, a theater where gay men went to meet. Old Second found solace and intimacy in the private screening rooms, while Bao Mei sold tickets in the box office to closeted men. But when Old Second's lover is outed, he and Bao Mei are sent down a path of events that push the two men towards America. Cinema Love is really big-hearted, but also, in some instances, earth-shattering. It's a novel about desire and secrets and grief, and in the end, how we care for one another and how that care allows us to survive. This is going to be really impactful and really beautiful, a bit different than the other romances we're presenting here, but nonetheless still really incredible and exciting.
And finally on this slide, we have the next title from Paige Toon called 7 Summers. And of course, everyone fell in love with her, with Only Love Can Hurt Like This. And we're so thrilled that she's back on our list. And it's an unforgettable, heartbreaking love story with shocking secrets, which is also a good book club pick, but also perfect for everyone who wants some summer romance. So Liv and Finn met 6 summers ago, working in a bar on the rugged Cornish coastline, their futures full of promise. But when a night of passion ends in devastating tragedy, they're bound together inextricably. But Finn's life is in LA with his band, and Liv's is in Cornwall with her family, so they make a promise. Finn will return every year, and if they are single, they will spend the summer together. But this summer, the 7th summer, Liz crosses paths with Tom. And so this will be, I'm going to leave, that's my theme for this one. I'm going to leave you all with the mystery of what happens next. But it is a book that's chock full of nostalgia, summer romance, drama, and it's a perfect follow-up for everyone who's already fallen in love with Page Tune. And it's, of course, got this complicated love triangle and the star-crossed feel and setting for other swoon-worthy romance stories that have already captured your patrons' hearts. And we're sure this will be no different.
All right, and then first up, in 2024, I want to learn more about history. We have David E. Sanger, Pulitzer Prize winner's upcoming book, New Cold Wars. New Cold Wars is a fast-paced account of America's plunge into simultaneous confrontations against two very different adversaries, Russia and China. David E. Sanger based this book on an absolutely remarkable array of interviews with top officials from 5 administrations, US intelligence agencies, foreign governments, and tech companies on the front lines. He unfolds a riveting narrative spun around the era's critical questions, which are, will the mistakes Putin made in his invasion of Ukraine prove his undoing? And will he reach for his nuclear arsenal, or will the West's famously short attention span signal Kiev's doom? Will Xi invade Taiwan? Will both men deepen their partnership to undercut America's dominance? And can a politically dysfunctional America still lead the world? This is going to be a really fast-paced, obviously very timely, and very interesting read for anybody interested in US politics or foreign relations. And David E. Sanger, as we know, is absolutely lauded, is a really reputable source on this stuff. So going to be a great read for anybody interested in the current state of affairs.
And next up, I have the perfect recommendation for readers who loved Hidden Figures, The Girls of Atomic City, Radium Girls, and Code Girls, and of course, readers and listeners who are interested in art and culture and women in the arts and ballet. This is called The Swans of Harlem, and it's about 5 Black ballerinas, 50 years of sisterhood, and their reclamation of a groundbreaking history, excuse me. And this is just such a wonderful story, and I can't believe it's been a forgotten story. This is such an important book because it tells it's not a well-known story of this pioneering group of 5 Black ballerinas and their 50-year sisterhood, and a legacy that was erased from history until now. Because at the height of the civil rights movement, Lydia Abarca was a Black prima ballerina with major international dance company, the Dance Theater of Harlem, which was a troupe of women and men who became each other's chosen family. And she was the first Black company ballerina on the cover of Dance Magazine. In Essence cover star, she was cast in The Wiz and a Bob Fosse production on Broadway. And she performed in some of ballet's most iconic works with other trailblazing ballerinas, including the young women who became her closest friends, founding Dance Theater of Harlem members Gail McKinney Griffith and Sheila Rohan, as well as first-generation dancers Carla Shelton and Marcia Sells. And these Swans of Harlem performed for the Queen of England, for Mick Jagger and Stevie Wonder, on the same bill as Josephine Baker at the White House and beyond. But then decades later, there was almost no record of their groundbreaking history to be found. Out of a sisterhood that had grown even deeper with the years, these swans joined forces again to share their story with the world. And here it is. And I, for one, cannot wait to read it. This is a riveting account of 5 extraordinarily accomplished women, and it's a celebration of their historic careers and the grounding power of female friendship. And all of the dancers have been involved with this book as well, which is so wonderful. So it's really their untold story of these remarkable women, and it's a celebration of the arts, and it's really just unbelievable to learn about all of this history, and I'm so glad that all of us can learn about it too.
In The Demon of Unrest, master storyteller Eric Larson brings to life the pivotal 5 months between the election of Abraham Lincoln and the start of the Civil War, a slow burning crisis that finally tore a deeply divided nation in two. On November 6, 1860, Abraham Lincoln became the victor in a tight race for president. The country was bitterly at odds. Southern extremists were moving ever closer to destroying the Union, with one state after another seceding, and Lincoln powerless to stop them. Slavery fueled the conflict, and the passions of North and South came to focus on a lonely federal fortress in Charleston Harbor, Fort Sumter. Eric Larson offers a gripping account of the chaotic months between Lincoln's election and the Confederacy's shelling of Sumter, a period marked by tragic errors and miscommunications, inflamed egos and craven ambitions, personal tragedies and betrayals. Drawing from diaries, secret communiques, slave trade ledgers, and plantation records, Larson presents a political horror story that captures the forces that led America to the brink.
Next up, our reading resolution in 2024, I want to travel the world, at least through books. So first up is the Paris novel by Ruth Reichel, and this is perfect, as you might guess, for fans of people who love all things Paris, from the books The Little Paris Bookshop and The Paris Wife to the TV show Emily in Paris to Midnight in Paris. I mean, there's so many fun, amazing stories that can be told about this beautiful city. And of course, we can expect there to be some delicious writing in the Paris novel, because Ruth Reichel takes us on an adventure of food, art, and fashion in the 1980s of Paris. And it's dazzling and heartfelt, and it's really, as you might guess and hope, it's a feast for the senses, because that's exactly what we would want from a book called The Paris Novel by one of our favorite food writers. And it's a testament to living deliciously, taking chances, and finding your true home. So the City of Lights really comes alive on the page, and will come alive on audio through all of the food and art and passion and fashion and passion. And it's partly inspired by Ruth's own travels there, which she detailed in her memoir that you might remember, called Save Me the Plums. But in this book, Stella is left with an unusual inheritance after her mother dies. She gets a one-way plane ticket and a note reading, "Go to Paris." But Stella is hardly cut out for adventure. A childhood trauma has unfortunately kept her confined to the strict routines of her comfort zone. But her boss encourages her to take time off, and she resigns herself to honoring her mother's last wishes. So she goes, she's alone in a foreign city. She starts to fall into her old habits. She's living very cautiously and frugally. And then she stumbles across a vintage store where she tries on a fabulous Dior dress. And the shopkeeper insists that this dress was meant for her. And for the first time in her life, she does something impulsive, and she buys the dress. And together they embark on an adventure. And so it really is about Stella trying to understand what it might mean to take chances and live a different life, to live a larger life. She meets really interesting characters. She tries different foods. And I think it's just a real fun exploration that is perfect for your resolution of traveling the world in a new year.
Jen, I got full goosebumps as you were describing that. I'm so excited.
Really? I think we should all go to Paris for the next episode of Morning Book Buzz.
Yes, please.
Really, do a field trip.
On the top of the Eiffel Tower, we are
Yes. The ultimate prop.
And in our next title, The Hazelbourne Ladies Motorcycle and Flying Club, a young woman's life is forever changed in the summer of World War I when she befriends a group of independent motorcycle riding women in a seaside town on the English coast. It is the summer of 1919, and Constance Haverhill is without prospects. Now that all the men have returned from the front, she's been asked to give up her cottage and her job at the stage she's helped run during the war. While she looks for a position as a bookkeeper or a governess, she's sent as the ladies' companion to an old family friend who is convalescing at a seaside hotel. Despite having only weeks to find a permanent home, Constance finds herself swept up in a social whirl of the Hazelbourne-on-Sea after she rescues local baronet daughters Poppy Wirral from a social faux pas. Poppy wears trousers, operates a taxi and delivery service to employ local women, and runs a ladies' motorcycle club. She and her friends enthusiastically welcome Constance into their circle. And then there is Harris, Poppy's handsome brother, a fighter pilot recently wounded in battle, who warms in Constance's presence. But things are more complicated than they seem in the sunny pocket of English high society. As the country prepares to celebrate its hard-won peace, Constance and the women of the club are forced to confront the fact that the freedoms they gained during the war are being revoked. Book clubs will appreciate this novel, which offers a perfect beachy escape and centers on the weightier themes like war, women's rights, and class.
All right, and in 2024, we want to find new thrills. So first up, we have You Know What You Did, which is a debut from KT1. We follow Annie, who appears to have it all together. She is incredibly successful. She's in a happy marriage, has a beautiful home, and a beautiful daughter. However, when her mother, a Vietnam War refugee, dies suddenly one night, Annie's highly curated life begins to unravel. Her OCD, which she thought she vanquished years ago, comes back roaring with disturbing fixations that she feared might actually be coming true. Disappearances continue happening around her, and one day Annie finds herself waking up in a hotel room, naked and next to a lifeless body. The police have questions, but she has no answers. All she knows is that she must protect her daughter. You Know What You Did is filled with dizzying twists, but it is a harrowing thriller and a heartfelt exploration of the refugee experiences, the legacies we leave for our children, and the unbreakable bonds between mother and daughter. This is going to be perfect for fans of Lisa Jewell and Celeste Sting. It is going to have all those twists and turns you want in a thriller, but with a really deep-hearted undercurrent to it as well.
I think you're muted again. Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, apologies. So
You're really keeping us in suspense.
The Deepest Lake is an atmospheric thriller set at a luxury memoir writing workshop on the shores of Lake Atitlan, Guatemala. A grieving mother goes undercover to investigate her mother's mysterious death. Rose, the mother of 20-something aspiring writer Jules, has waited 3 months for answers about her daughter's death. Why was she swimming alone when she feared the water? Why did she stop texting days before she was last seen? When the official investigation rules the death an accidental drowning, the body possibly lost forever in Central America's deepest lake, an unsatisfied Rose travels to the memoir workshop herself. She hopes to draw her own conclusion and find closure. When she arrived, she swept into the curious world created by her daughter's literary hero, the famous writing teacher Eva Marshall, a charismatic woman known for her candid and controversial memoirs. As Rose uncovers details about the days leading up to Jules's disappearance, she begins to suspect that this glamorous retreat package is hiding ugly truths. Is Lake Atitlan a place where traumatized women come to heal, or a place where deeper injury is inflicted? This is a title that's perfect for fans of Delia Owens and Julia Bartz. It takes a sharp look at the sometimes toxic, exclusionary world of high-class writing workshops and an achingly poignant view of a mother's grief. And our next title, The Z Word by Lindsay King Miller, is one that's packed with action, humor, sex, and big gay feelings. It's the queer zombie land you didn't know you needed. Bisexual Wendy is trying to find her place in the queer community of San Lazaro, Arizona, after a bad breakup. which is particularly difficult because her ex is hooking up with some of her friends. And when the people around them start turning into violent, terrifying, mindless husks, well, that makes things harder, especially since the infection seems to be spreading. Now, Wendy and her friends and frenemies, drag queen Logan, Silver Fox Bo, sword lesbian Arietta, and her wife Sam, mysterious pizza delivery stoner Sunshine, and Wendy's ex-girlfriend Leah, have to team up to stay alive, save Pride, and track the zombie outbreak to its shocking source, hopefully without killing each other first. The Z Word is a propulsive, funny, emotional horror debut about a found family coming together to fight corporate greed, political corruption, gay drama, and zombies. And next we have The Hunter's Daughter, which is a dark, hypnotic debut mystery about a seemingly good cop who is secretly the daughter of a notorious serial killer. Anna Carey escaped her father's darkness long ago. When she was a girl, her childhood memories were sealed away from her conscious mind by a controversial hypnosis treatment. She's now a decorated sheriff's lieutenant serving a rural community, conducting an ordinary life far from her father's shadow. When Anna kills a man in the line of duty, her suppressed memories return. She dreams of her beloved father, his hands red with blood, surrounded by flower-decked corpses he had sacrificed to the god of the forest. To Anna's horror, a serial killer emerges who is copying her father and who knows who she really is. Is her father still alive, or is this the work of another? Will the killer expose her, destroying everything she's built for herself? There's been early praise for The Hunter's Daughter from author Jennifer McMahon, who writes that this is a genuinely creepy and atmospheric debut. The author has crafted a propulsive story of crimes, old and new, the power of memory, and the darkness that dwells inside us all.
Ooh, I'm scared.
Very creepy.
That's why I didn't present that title. I was like, this is giving me nightmares, but people love scary thrillers. So
I will just say, I just watched Yellow Jackets, and just listening to Miriam describe that, if anybody enjoyed Yellow Jackets, this sounds like it will be a perfect fit. Definitely similar themes, similar energy. I'm excited personally.
And up next, more my speed, The Wealth of Shadows by Graham Moore. This is fiction for Erik Larson readers. Everyone's so excited about the new Erik Larson, of course. And The Wealth of Shadows is a novel, but every name in this book is that of a real person. And the central facts of the plot are real. So James Patterson has already praised this book and said if Jean Le Carré and Ken Follett collaborated on a novel, they might have written one as good as The Wealth of Shadows. So you may already know Graham Moore because he's the New York Times best-selling author of The Holdout, The Last Days of Night, and The Sherlockian, and no big deal, the Academy Award-winning screenwriter of The Imitation Game, of course, with Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley. So we're so thrilled that he has a new book, and this is gripping, as you might anticipate. It's a mind-expanding thriller about the mysterious powers of money and the lies worth telling to defeat evil, and a hidden war that shaped the modern world. So this is about an ordinary man named Ansel Luckford, who joins a secret mission to bring down the Nazi war machine by crashing their economy. And it's not what you might expect. Like, how can you defeat an enemy without firing a bullet? But to thwart the Nazis, Ansel and his team invent a powerful new theater of battle, economic warfare, because money is a dangerous weapon, and Ansel's efforts will plunge him into a world full of espionage, peril, and deceit. He will crisscross the globe to broker backroom deals, undertake daring heists, and spar with titans of industry like J.P. Morgan and the century's greatest economic mind, Britain's John Maynard Keynes. I'm saying that incorrectly, I think. Live show. When Ansel's wife takes a job with the FBI to hunt for spies within the government, the need for subterfuge extends to the home front, and Ansel discovers that he might be closer to those spies than he could ever imagine.
All right, and then in 2024, I want to read more memoirs. This first one, not much to be said, so I will just keep it short and sweet. This is Knife by Salman Rushdie, speaking out for the first time in unforgettable detail about the traumatic events of August 12th, 2022. Salman Rushdie answers violence with art and reminds us of the power of words to make sense of the unthinkable. Knife is gripping, intimate, and ultimately life-affirming meditation on life, loss, love, art, and finding the strength to stand up again.
Our next book is Between Two Trailers by J. Dana Trent. This is a powerful, unforgettable memoir about a girl who escapes her childhood as a drug dealer in rural Indiana, only to find out no one can really make it out until they make peace with where their story began, home. Home, it turns out, is where the war is. It's also where the healing begins. Dana Trent is only a preschooler the first time she uses a razor blade to cut up weed and fill dime bags for her schizophrenic father, King. While King struggles with his unmedicated psychosis, Dana's mother, the lady, a cold, self-absorbed woman with personality disorders, rules the home, guards large bricks of drugs from the safety of their squalid trailer. But when the lady plucks Dana from the Midwest and moves the two of them south, their fresh start results in homelessness and bankruptcy. In North Carolina, Dana becomes torn between her gritty Midwestern past and her newfound desire to be a polite Southern girl struggling to reconcile her shame with an ache to figure out who she is and where she belongs. But the past is never far behind. After persevering through childhood and eventually graduating from Duke University, Dana imagines her hidden Indiana life is finally behind her, only to realize that running from her upbringing has kept her from making peace with the people and places that shaped her. Ultimately, Dana finds through love for family is universally complicated. Although love for family is universally complicated, there is no shame in survival, and for those who want it, there's always a path home. The author is a speaker, professor, an award-winning author, and a minister, a graduate of Duke Divinity School, where she teaches world religions and critical thinking at Wake Technical Community College in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And finally, in 2024, I'm going to have my last prop here, my lovely microphone. In 2024, I want to be a better listener. So of course, there are audio editions of all the books we just told you about, but these are four that I had to call out in the audio format, especially because the first one is an audio original. So the only way to experience The Long Hunters is to listen to it. And this is, of course, from Meat Eater superstar Steven Rinella. And this is the full title is Meat Eaters American History, The Long Hunters, 1761 to 1775. And it's read by Steven Rinella and Clay Newcomb. So these are the creators of the New York Times best-selling series, The Campfire Stories, and this is the new original audiobook that brings to life the bold, hair-raising, and often tragic adventures of a generation of 18th century frontiersmen, the Long Hunters. So they'll be gathering listeners round, hopefully that's you or your patrons, to learn about such figures as Daniel Boone, Caspar Mansker, and many more. And they really cover some of the most fabled periods of American history. And I think especially because they have such a built-in audience, a podcast audience, they just are they have such appeal to listeners who are going to want to hear more from them. And the only way to do it is in this format. So we're so thrilled to introduce this audio original. And then next up, The Gimlet Slip by Fiona Davis and Greg Wands, and it will be read by 3 fabulous narrators, Carolina Hoyos, Patty Matson, and Marco Pelaz. And they are reading this wonderful historical fiction thriller. It's got amazing characters. Think Boardwalk Empire, but in a short story form. And this is an audio first. So the first way that you can hear it is going to be on audio. And then perhaps there'll be another way to read it later. But we want to tell you about the audio first. And it's about a headstrong, fast-driving young woman who gets pulled into a dangerous bootlegging scheme. And it's a thrilling novella set in the glamorous and gritty Prohibition-era New York City. So what better way to just truly escape into a fun listen than with The Gimlet Slip? And then from Listening Library, I wanted to point out these 2 wonderful books. Louder Than Hunger is by revered teacher, librarian, and story ambassador John Shu, and he is exploring anorexia and self-expression as an act of survival in this wrenching and transformative novel in verse that is going to be an amazing listen as well. I mean, because it's written in verse, it's a very moving listen. And the audiobook will also feature the author reading some acknowledgments and a dedication and an author's note. So you get to hear from John Shu himself, Mr. Shu. Jake volunteers at a nursing home because he likes helping people. He likes skating and singing and playing bingo and Name That Tune. And he also likes avoiding people his own age and the cruelty of mirrors and food. And he's read about himself, kids like himself in books. And he thinks of himself as the weird one and the outsider, and he would do anything not to be that kid, including shrink himself down to nothing. But the less he eats, the bigger he feels. So how long can Jake punish himself before he truly disappears? This is a fictionalized account of the author's real experiences and emotions. And it's going to be incredibly powerful and incredibly important. And Catherine Applegate has said, every so often a book comes along that is so brave and necessary, it extends a lifeline when it's needed most. This is one of those books, and will surely also be one of those audiobooks. So I had to tell you about it. And then finally, Kate DiCamillo needs very little introduction, but this is next from her. It's called Ferris. She's, of course, the beloved author of Because of Winn-Dixie and many more. And she has outdone herself, if that's even possible, with this new hilarious and achingly real love story about a girl, a ghost, a grandmother, and growing up. And so look for Ferris. We're so excited to announce the narrator soon. And she's, of course, a 2-time Newbery medalist. And this is her in her most playful and profound storytelling adventure yet. So we can't wait for you to hear Ferris. And we've done it. We got in right under the wire. Thank you for being with us for this great hour of reading resolutions and celebrating the start of season 5. We're so grateful for all of you.
It was great to have you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope you found a couple books for your next reads.
Yeah, and everyone look for the link. Be sure to enter to win some galleys. And if you have any questions, you can always email us. And we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.